And joining me now, Senator from Hanover, State Senator, Republican Ryan McDougle. Senator McDougle, great to have you, sir.
Good morning, John. How are you doing?
Hey, man, I'm fired up today because after 19 days on the road, New Hampshire and Iowa, we've been in so many cities I can't even remember the names of them. I'm finally going home. And it's Valentine's Day, Senator. So, it just doesn't get any better than this, right?
Well, it does, but your home is going to look a lot more like California than it did before you left.
What is going on, Senator? I mean, this crazy stuff they're passing. I mean, I leave town for 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and I start looking at some of the things that is being passed in the House by caucus of the corn. What is going on here?
It is a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, the biggest message that I have is you're going to pay more to live in Virginia. Your taxes are going up, and they're going up because gas tax is going up. Yours in Hampton Roads will go up a little bit less than those of us in Central Virginia, but in Central Virginia it's going to go up 15 cents a gallon, which is almost double. You're going to pay more for your power. There is a new system of carbon trading, complicated, but the bottom line is in the first year of implementation, 2021, it is going to cost Virginians about $165 million more to purchase power in Virginia, and that's only going to go up from there. And then we're going to, as a result of legislation passed, solar energy is great, but we are doing it extremely fast. There's going to be about 16,000 new megawatts of solar panels out there. And you say, what does that mean? What's 16,000 megawatts? That's about 10,000 acres a year of new solar panels going up in Virginia. If you kind of put the road system, your interstate road system out there, that's like paving the entire road system in Virginia of highways with solar panels. And it's going to be expensive.
So what do we get for all this? I mean, obviously, look, everybody knows, Senator, and I'm going to get to power in a minute. Everybody knows I backed Governor McDonald's gas tax transportation bill in 2013. Almost all the Republicans fought it. I got ostracized for that. But I live in Chesapeake, and so when I go now, Senator, from Virginia Beach to Washington D.C., I mean, it is so far cut an hour off the ride, and it's not even completed. So if you don't have a gas tax, how do you pay for these roads?
Well, when Bob McDonald instituted his original plan, that first plan that came out made a lot more sense because it was shifting over from the gas tax to a sales tax. And as you know, gas cars are more fuel efficient. There are more electric cars on the road. Gas tax continues to be a descending revenue. It is always going to be going down as we become more efficient. And you also know that kids today are not driving cars like when you and I grow up. It's just not the same. A lot of the time you save on that trip from your house to D.C., though, has come from those hot lanes in Northern Virginia. And
yes,
on average, that is saving over 45 to 50 minutes a week each way in traffic time. And that was done through a public-private partnership, and people that use the hot lanes are paying for the hot lanes.
right.
So we can look at a lot of different things, but from Central Virginia, my concern is a lot of this money is going to Northern Virginia away from my areas. And my rural constituents who have to drive to get jobs because they don't have access to broadband services. They can't run that business out of their home. It is more expensive for them through this. So there has to be some balance, but almost doubling the tax for rural Virginians is going to be painful.
Right. So what you're saying is the way they're doing it is it's punishing rural Virginians in rural areas that need to get from point A to point B. They're not in the suburban area. So as a result of that, they're paying more for gas, and they're punished on a percentage basis. They have a higher punishment than say me, who's not in a rural area and I get to save the hour going to DC. But it sounds like you're also in favor of the hot lanes, which I'm a big believer in because, look, I can decide, right? I either pay it or I don't. That shows you exactly what it is on the screen. It's like, if I feel like paying the $15 or the $10 to save an hour, I can do that. If I don't, I can just go on the other road and sit for a half hour in traffic, right?
Well, the hot lanes, I think, is a brilliant idea because of what you just said. If you need to get to work, you need to pick up your kids, you want to make sure you make the soccer game, you take the hot lanes, you pay the fee. But what that also does is if I don't want to pay that fee
right.
to use the hot lanes and I'm sitting in the other lane, enough people are getting off and paying it that it opens up those lanes as well. So
right.
all traffic is moving faster regardless of whether you're paying the fee. Now, before all these things passed, we were able to work it out so those hot lanes are going to come all the way down to Fredericksburg. So hopefully by the time that's completed, it'll all be faster. But the other things, including transportation, are regardless of whether you're driving in Northern Virginia or not, when you turn the lights on or heat your house or cool your house, you're going to be paying a lot more just to be able to do that. And that also hurts rural Virginians and people that are not economically as advantaged because they have to pay those costs just to maintain their normal life. And that's going to be a lot more expensive as well.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. We are with State Senator Republican Ryan McDougle from Hanover. Senator McDougle, I want to talk about RGGI. If you could explain this to our listeners, because it's one of these acronyms people are like, what the hell is that? Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, RGGI. And there's a debate going on it right now that also involves LS Power, which is an independent power producer based in Hanover, Doswell Energy Center. Can you outline for us what exactly the issue is here?
Well, RGGI they call it RGGI, that's what it's referred to. It's a system of trading credits. So when there's an effort to eliminate all natural gas, all coal, anything that in essence comes out of the ground, which is considered carbon emissions. And to do that, you get in this system and you pay money for these credits. It's about, I think about $6 per ton of these credits. And when you work out, that works out to about $165 odd million a year worth of these credits. One little power company in Hanover County, in my district, they put $100 million into making sure that your lights come on and you can get power when you want it. But in their contract that they did in 2016 and 2017, so 3 and 4 years ago, they didn't say that they could, if one of these regulatory schemes went into place, they could pass that on. And it's going to cost them almost 50% of their investment to join. So we said, Virginia, other states, California, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Connecticut, when they first went into the system, and RGGI is all northeastern states, and then Virginia will be joining it, we said when they started the system, they gave companies that didn't have these contracts where they could pass the cost on a break so that they could continue to operate efficiently. And we said, can you give them a break just for the next couple of years until those two contracts expired? And that would be about 3% of the total dollars that would come into the system. And as of now, we've been unsuccessful. But RGGI it's about, over the next 5 years, a little bit less than $500 million. And that's going to go to consumer cost along the way. And it'll make your power more expensive. But we're trying to make sure that jobs and companies operating in Virginia, paying taxes in Virginia, don't get hurt in that process. So those jobs stay and those taxes continue to come in to keep our school costs and law enforcement operating efficiently.
So how does that tie in, Senator McDougle, to LS Power, which is an independent power producer across Virginia? They own the Doswell Energy Center in Hanover County that you represent. their cost is going to go up, right, as a result of not getting a deal. Like their costs are going to go up, so that cost is then passed
$45
on.
million.
And so that cost
$45 million.
So they have to pay $45 million to be part of this Reggie scheme. And then obviously they're a power company. They have to stay in business. So all that does is get passed on to consumers in Hanover County, Bath County, and others where they operate, right?
Well, it's a little more challenging than that because their contracts don't let them pass it on to other entities that might buy power from them. They're going to have to eat all that. So then they have to make decisions. Is it worth the revenue to continue to produce? And the biggest concern is, are they continuing to have those jobs? It's just going to be a straight hit to the bottom line. When you're in the scheme, you trade these credits, so some of the money comes from out of state as well. But Virginia is doing this to take revenue in, and then they're going to spend it somewhere else. So it's all going to be spent in other places, but it's this one company with this facilities in Virginia is going to be hit disproportionate to all the other companies.
So they're getting screwed, which means they could go out of business, which means all those jobs are gone. And then who's going to provide the power in those areas?
Well, we look at power out there, and everybody wants renewables, solar and wind. It is really important that we have those in the system. Mm-hmm. But, John, you know this. If the wind doesn't blow, you don't get any power. And
right.
If the sun is not shining, you don't produce energy.
Right.
And you've not been here the last couple of days, but it's been cold and, well, not cold, but it has been pretty rainy and dark. So there has not been a lot of sun. You still have to have what we call base load, or those things that you can turn on when you need them. And it's important that we make sure that Virginians can get that power and they can get it at a good price. We've maintained cheaper energy for businesses to operate, but for people to live. And right now, with things like Reggie, we're going to make those energy prices a lot more expensive for Virginia businesses and for Virginia citizens just to do their everyday functions like get their kids ready for school and fix dinner.
Senator McDougle, what is the objective of Reggie? Like what is it trying to accomplish?
Well, the supposed goal is that they're going to make it more expensive to do certain types of power, so you, in essence, find it more advantageous to produce other types of power, like solar and wind. So they're trying to balance out, but specifically it's a carbon trading credit. So right. You have to do, if you're going to use carbon, you got to pay dollars for it, and then they put those dollars in other places that they think are positive to sort of balance out. But, as we go forward, Virginia, if the laws pass as they came out of the Senate, Virginia will have the second largest amount of solar from any other state except California. The one other thing that we can tell you about California is they pay extremely high prices just to turn their lights on. And Virginia is a lot smaller than California as well. I'm really worried about solar. Again, going to solar is good, but we're seeing this proliferation in our rural areas, taking over thousands and thousands of acres. Yeah. Some of the solar needs to be where people are using it. Some of it needs to be in Fairfax and Arlington and Alexandria and the city of Richmond and Norfolk. It needs to be where people are using some of that energy as well, because at the end, a solar panel has a useful life, estimated 20, 25 years. Somebody's got to clean that up, or somebody has to replace it, and we need to make sure we have policies in place to do that.
So, it's kind of ridiculous because what's happening is you can't power Virginia or your town or your house with just solar and wind, right? You can't do it. It represents about maybe 10, I think estimates are 10 or 15% of your total power, even if you did everything that the advocates say you could do. So now what Reggie does is it raises the price of carbon-based fuel and energy so that rather than subsidizing solar like we've done forever and putting tax dollars against it in subsidies and other people getting rich off it that have been screwing us forever. Now they're raising the price of carbon-based fuels so that solar becomes more attractive. That's insane. So when you take this company LS Power that's getting screwed here, Senator, what can we do to help them? What's the plan?
It was a simple fix. We said they still will have to pay some, but let's mitigate or reduce their exposure as this goes in. So it's phased in over 3 years. It would be $15 million a year this company would have to pay over the next 2 years. We said, let's reduce that. Let's not eliminate all the exposure, but let's reduce that to maybe they only have to pay $10 million so that they can make their systems work efficiently. So we don't have to eliminate their exposure to this, but we could make it a little less painful. When companies locate in Virginia and spend hundreds of millions of dollars, we ought to make sure that we are also good stewards of our relationship as well if we're going to change the rules on them. And we're changing the rules, and they're going to pay a price. I don't think that's the best way for Virginians to operate, and we ought to try to find a solution that at least meets that company that's created jobs and spent money and capital investment a part of the way.
Senator McDougle, how do you do that?
We just say we're going to make them not pay quite as much for those credits in the first couple years. And if for some reason their contracts go away or their contracts change, then they got to pay the full price. But since they're already in those contracts, we're going to make the cost. It says $6 an hour. We're going to reduce that cost to maybe $6 a ton, reduce it to $2 a ton. I mean, it's an easy way to fix it. It's formulaic. We laid out a formula, but it could mitigate their cost and make them be able to operate. But I got to tell you, John, it looks like all these policies are going in rapidly. And so we're going to take a multitude of things, including Reggie, including 10,000 new acres of solar. We're going to drop those in very quickly, which makes it hard for the system to react, hard for companies to react, and make it more expensive.
So how do you stop this? You're not going to stop anything in the House because caucus of the corn, basically, there's no operating coalition that goes on in there. So if it's so, that's done. You have absolutely no opportunity to stop any of this. Can you stop this company from getting screwed in the Senate? Is there a bill? Is there an effort? Can you get two Democrats? I mean, obviously it's going to affect Deeds in Bath County. Can you get him, Morrissey? Can you cobble something together to stop it in the Senate?
Well, we tried, and on Tuesday night we came up one vote short of that. So right now it either has to be addressed through the budget or the House, which you don't give me a lot of hope for there,
No,
John.
Forget the House. I mean, that's just hopeless, Ryan. I mean, come on. These people, you got Levine up there trying to take everybody's gun and put him in jail. I mean, this is the crackpot caucus of all time. There's nobody with any reason that you can even have a conversation with there. You came up one vote short in the Senate. What?
So it's either got to be in the budget or the governor's got to make the change. If we can't get a change in the House, there's the only two options left.
Have you talked to the governor about it?
Not yet, because it just happened Tuesday night, and as you know, we've been putting in on the Senate side. Our Tuesday night didn't actually end until Wednesday morning, so It's been some long days. So we're looking at the budget process as well, and we'll be, after the budget comes out, which it'll be the Senate version, the House version, will both be available late Sunday. We'll start to have some additional conversations next week. But we're going to continue to fight on all this stuff because it impacts Virginians. It impacts what they spend. And we want to make sure that Virginians can still do the things they want to do with their families and kids. And right now, they're going to be spending a lot more money in taxes, and they're going to be spending a lot more money in power.
So right now, listening to me is to our show and to you is Governor Northam's Chief of Staff, Clark Mercer. He just texted in. He said, I guess now isn't the time to debate the increased gas tax, but I do see what he's saying on he didn't put Reggie, he put RGGI. So maybe you should give Clark Mercer a call. He's listening to us now, and see if he can get to the governor.
Well,
Ryan,
Clark lives in Hanover.
Well, he gets it. He gets it. I mean,
these are difficult decisions, and I realize that there's give and take in all the process. But this one facility in particular, the one in Hanover, gets hit really hard, and so we're fighting to protect it.
Well, I called Mercer today because he just heard our conversation, and he just texted me. A final question. The one Democratic senator that voted with you on reducing the burden on LS Power, who was that?
John, I don't have that vote list in front of me. We took so many votes on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. I didn't bring that one with me.
I think it was.
I don't want to tell you.
I think it was Morrissey, but I'm not sure. But I'm surprised you wouldn't have gotten Cray Deeds on it because LS Power is in Bath County. But this is the problem. There's no reasoning going on here. I mean, that's why I've given up on the House. You can't have a legitimate conversation with anybody. Even on the simple thing like the constitutional amendment to reform redistricting that they passed with 86 votes. Now they're trying to stab that in the head in some subcommittee, saying that it's racist. I mean, you cannot reason with these people. So hopefully we can get that done. Ryan McDougle, I'm out of time. I want to thank you for being with us today, Senator. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. Look forward to talking to you soon.